The two procurement nerds are back, but this time it is extra special in that we are in person. Normally you see us on our split screen on our Zoom StreamYard, and I am in town for the Service and Support World Conference, which officially kicks off tomorrow. So the rest of my team is coming in tomorrow, hence my red shirt. And you can't see, but I'm rocking my red Converse.
And by the way, just to say, in town is in Vegas.
In town is in Vegas. And Dr. E has already been here for a few weeks. And so the timing just worked out perfect. So kudos to you for recommending. And this is a studio that we recorded in.
Our first episode.
Our first couple episodes.
That's right.
I think we did a stockpile, but it was like a year and a half ago, maybe. So we are excited to be back.
This is I'll just say one plug for the studio. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And they just expanded to a brand new studio with another area. So
yeah.
we'll be back for sure.
Drop us a note if you are in Vegas and need a recording studio. We'll definitely make a recommendation. It's super close to the airport. So
Yes.
It's really convenient too, bouncing back between flights. And if you're at a casino or doing something downtown. So really good location. So Dr. E, we have a lot to talk about. I know we're actually going to record a couple episodes today. So since we're in person, we want to take advantage of our time. So this one was spurred by you and some of the things that you've seen on LinkedIn. There's been a lot of posts and comments, and I would say heated discussions going back and forth. So we thought that this would be a good topic. So we are going to dive into talking about some of the changes and philosophies that have been coming out from SAP and Salesforce this year, and how some of the things that they're actually have already gone live and implemented are kind of throwing procurement people for a loop.
Certainly creating a lot of noise.
And we think there's going to be a lot more discussion this year around this topic and how this is going to impact folks who are procurement practitioners. So let's kind of start off with SAP and what they recently announced. So they have something which I'm putting in quotes called "You shall not pass position." And they announced this year in Q1 the next gen Ariba being AI native.
We'll put that in quotes.
Right. And I'm not even sure if I'm going to pronounce this. Is it Joule?
Joule, I think.
A Joule embedded. And agents live inside of the suite. So this is a big push and change that they are making. And they have changed their pricing, which is kind of a big deal given their global audience and people have been kind of in set contracts for a very long time. And they have shifted to consumption-based AI units. And it would be interesting to actually have some of their clients come on sometime and talk about how that pricing change has impacted their strategy and what they're doing. So lots to unpack with this SAP announcement. So Dr. Elouise, what are your thoughts around all of this?
Well, so this is the first of two announcements for them, and that has caused quite the stir. And I at some point, I have this dream of doing my own sort of like mini for my YouTube channel. So these mini vignettes on titled Elouise's Crash Out. And one of these is I want to react to one of their videos like that releases when they start releasing this formally and showing their marketing videos. Because first off, it's not AI native. Let's just be honest. And Joule is sort of this nice little AI, let's call it more than slideware, but it's just sort of this bit that's within SAP. So it's not like truly AI native.
I have not used it. Have you used it before?
I have not used it. I've just been watching.
Clients and people have. Okay.
Yeah.
So neither of us are users. I want to call that out.
Yes. And I have no intention of ever using it. So I remember, I don't know, 2 years ago, I made a vow that I'd never log into SAP again. So
and you're sticking to it.
I'm sticking to it. So So, but I think, but understanding, and as we'll get into this when we get to the next SAP topic, the future is not taking legacy software and adding some AI to it. The future is AI systems built ground up. So to roll out this legacy design, it's not AI native. So let's just get that out of the way.
Yeah, and I'm curious to know who they think is actually going to believe that. I mean, they've been around for so long, there's no way that they could be AI native.
Exactly. And not only that, they have burned all their bridges and given up all of their street credibility by promising for decades now this great user experience, and failed to deliver spectacularly. So we're going to now all of a sudden say, oh, hey, well, let's go all in on SAP. If you believe that, then I have a bridge to sell you or some beachfront property in Arizona to sell you.
So what does this pricing model change mean? And how do you know anyone who's actually talked to you about this?
I haven't come across anybody, because just like with S4, everybody's really slow to adopt, and they don't want to adopt because they've all, especially for supply chain and procurement, a lot of political capital was spent to do these SAP upgrades. And so nobody wants to be the one that says, hey, give me 50 million or 100 million or even $1 billion for some of these S4 implementations to put these in. Like, nobody wants to sign up for that.
So does this mean we're talking about mid-contract pricing changes, or do we think they're going to be honoring the existing contract?
I suspect they'll honor it. But I also think they're going to push people and force people, because one of the ways that they're getting S4 converts is they're shutting down ECC, which is the previous version. So if you shut down the previous version, it sort of forces the migration. And I suspect they'll do that for Ariba here pretty quickly, which is going to spur a lot of RFPs, because a lot of people are going to stop and say, well, if SAP is forcing me to do some big transition.
So this is a big alert for competitors that this is your time to shine.
Yes. Assuming they haven't tied their shoelaces together and trip over their own feet, which we'll get into in a bit. But yes, I mean, it is an opportunity, certainly for the Zip, Levelpath, ORO, and others in that space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. All right. You had a second thing you wanted to talk about SAP, and then I want to dive into some Salesforce stuff.
Right. So the other piece of SAP that came out, and a friend of the show, Jason Bush, talked a lot of, he had a lot to say about this.
Is it fair to call it an online rant?
I read it that way, but I don't want to paint him as in a negative way. I think I would just say he had a lot of passion and that's kind of spurred this topic for me, because one of the things that SAP has decided is that your data that you buy SAP, you put your data in, they are closing all the APIs to organic or inorganic, I think would be basically non-SAP agents. So they want you to use Joule and whatever else that is in the SAP ecosystem.
So what does this mean for all of these companies investing in MCP servers, where you can be in Claude or in ChatGPT and make a request and call up the information without ever having to leave the AI application?
So this is this is my interpretation. I'm not saying I'm correct. I want to this is my understanding, limited though it is. But this has been sort of threatened for a couple of years now. So, and it's coming to fruition, is they don't want non-SAP agents coming in and pulling that data out. Because the moment that happens is the moment we start asking ourselves, why are we paying $500 million for SAP? So they're closing the system off to make it all SAP. There are a whole series of problems with that, architectural and otherwise. And I think it's completely and totally and utterly the wrong approach.
Well, and talk about stakeholder revolt.
Yeah.
I'm in marketing, I'm in ops, I'm in IT, and I've spent a significant amount of time and resources setting up third-party integrations and setting up my MCP server, and to just be told that that's going to be cut off and I can't use, you are going to have some really upset customers.
Well, and this is the sort of strategic issue that Workday, Salesforce, which we'll get into, SAP, Oracle, they have to service now. Is like we're in this brave new world of what do you do? Do you open it up or do you close it off? And this has always been the critics of AI or skeptics of AI in the enterprise have been arguing this for a couple of years. That says, well, if you can't get access to your core data systems, and all it will take is SAP closing it off, then you can't use AI, which I fundamentally disagree with. And I also think that if that's the position SAP and others are going to take, I think it's going to lead to outcomes that are going to be unexpected.
I think organizations who aren't using AI will be left in the dust by their competition. And I think
no doubt,
just about most leaders becoming aware is already aware of that. So
yep.
I think there's going to be mass revolt and mass exodus if this position holds.
Well, and let me give you two reasons why SAP's position is utterly stupid. So first off, if you think about Claude Cowork, Claude Cowork is taking control of my screen, logging into Gmail.
It's being a teammate. It's doing human actions.
Right, but it's as me. It's doing them as me. So if I say go to SAP in my browser, because it has the MCP thing in your browser, and I say go into SAP and do this, SAP has no way to tell whether or not it's me or Cowork doing that work. So this is not even about agents. This is about like AI taking control of my desktop and behaving as if it's me. So first off, like the whole premise that SAP has is just fundamentally flawed because it doesn't understand the how AI works. This is why SAP is not an AI native company. And then the second thing is they really do this and they really push this. Well, it's going to push and as AI platforms improve,
which they are. I feel like every time I log into Claude, there's an update. I mean, they're pushing code changes at an incredible rate.
Well, I'll do one better. I watch an inordinate amount of YouTube and TikTok. Every day, there are at least 5 videos of, oh my God, this dropped. Not all Claude, but just, I can't keep up with this stuff. And I have a curated feed, and it's just the amount of stuff that's coming. So the sophistication of these platforms, we're going to get to a point where companies are going to say, well, I'm just going to vibe code this, or what is in essence the next iteration of that is says, I need an ERP system, build me an ERP system. And I will argue it won't even be a year where you could have a legit, now maybe not for a mega enterprise, but just fast forward 1, 2, 3 years. If you're going to charge me $500 million, I'm out.
So interesting. And I don't know if it's a Vegas thing or if they've just started investing in billboards and advertising more, but Odoo.
Yeah. Odoo.
ODOO.
Yeah.
If you guys our listeners haven't seen the name written before, they are an open code, open source ERP system.
Yep.
Something like $25 a month per user. And their whole model is we'll connect to anything.
Yeah.
Do anything, build anything, we'll connect to anything, which is almost like the anti-SAP, anti-Ariba talk track.
Yes.
So it just made me, when you were thinking about that, it made me think of Odoo because I've just seen them on billboards recently, and that's their whole talk track and pitch.
And I love it. And I've loved them for that. And I think it's a good example. The question though becomes, can you just replicate that with AI at some point? Not today. But it's funny, just a sidebar on Odoo. Back last month, I woke up and kind of like half asleep. I log into LinkedIn and it says Odoo sells to SAP for over $1 million. And I'm like taking this thing and I'm sending it to people.
It was this scam link?
No, it was April Fool's.
Oh.
It's like they got me hook, line, and sinker. And I was just like, because I'm like, I can't, and part of me just like collapsed, like died on the inside. I'm like, oh my God, they sold out. And so then as to like make myself feel better, I started sharing it with people like privately. I didn't do a big post.
Yeah.
But
well, this might be their time to shine. I mean,
Exactly.
The market, they've been waiting for this opportunity, and what they've built and what they're positioning could not be better for an AI forward world.
I agree. Exactly. Totally.
All right. Should we talk about Salesforce?
Yes.
So Salesforce has kind of come into the mix, and I'm going to call it an open approach.
Yes,
I don't know that I don't know that they've actually termed it that, but that's what we'll call it for our discussion. And so from the research I've done and what I've heard, I'll kind of explain how I understand it, then you can let me know what you think. But it's an agent workforce plus agent fabric plus MuleSoft as the orchestration control plane. So what they're doing is bringing agents to the data, governing at that layer then. So their own framing, this is a quote from something that they put out, says the operating layer for AI agents. So the completely different model than SAP. We've got scenario A, close, shut it down.
Yep.
No outside data. And then we've got Salesforce, which is a massive company that I would argue is still essential to a lot of organizations. And they're saying we're open. Yep. We want to connect with anything and everything and bring our agents to your data.
So that's how I understand it too. And I love the intent. I think it's a great intent. And they have been very early on this whole agent thing. They went all in on agents a couple years ago, and I give them huge credit for that. However, I don't think CRM is as sticky as ERP. So ERP gets into all your operations, planning, sourcing.
It's your financial backbone.
The financial
how I
backbone.
describe it.
Yeah, exactly. And your material and resource planning for your manufacturing. So when you think about large manufacturing enterprises, like it is embedded. Terrible though that is as a tool, it's embedded everywhere. Whereas CRM is a little more lightweight and a lot more lightweight comparatively. So I'm not convinced that CRM can withstand the change. And I think Claude and OpenAI and Gemini for sure are going to take down CRM, because the other thing that we've learned over these last 25 years with Salesforce is that it's basically a structured spreadsheet of CRM data. But we are now in a world where we can go get all kinds of unstructured data.
AKA Clay, which is a really popular system that emerged, especially for folks in marketing on the go-to-market team, and has displaced quite a bit of things happening in the data, marketing, sales, go-to-market motions. So that's an example where Clay has come in and just been a massive. Now, Clay is not ousted Salesforce.
No.
But it's definitely changed the way that people use Salesforce because the Clay integration has become so important for companies.
Yeah. And so play that out 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. I don't think Salesforce has defensible space. And I think at a certain point, especially it'll start with the smaller company. Like if we did a startup, would we buy Salesforce? No. But 25 years ago, Salesforce built their entire customer base by selling seats one at a time, 10 at a time. And people just getting out a credit card and signing up for Salesforce. And we're not in that world anymore. And so I think Salesforce is holding on to something. They have a lot of money, a huge install base. Good for them. but I think they're fighting an uphill battle. And especially so Google just released what I've seen publicly as JITRO, JITRO, which is it's sort of the next evolution of vibe coding, where you just tell it the outcome and just say, I want a CRM tool that is that is structured, that is both structured and unstructured.
Yeah, and it just builds it.
Right, exactly. And it's pretty impressive. And that's only that's today. What is April, May of 2026? What happens if we do this in December? Like, I don't think it's going. I don't think Salesforce is going to hold up. And by the way, I don't think Workday is either, for the same reason. HRIS, human resources information is just, it's just essentially a spreadsheet and a structured relational database. At a certain point, AI is going to obliterate that too.
So is the strategy an acquisition play for companies like this?
I don't know how. I don't know what that would do, because what are we paying for Salesforce? A lot of money. I don't know what the current rates are, but I know that Dreamforce is massive.
Yeah, takes over San Francisco for a week.
Right. And so there's an old saying about Vegas, is that if you walk into a casino and the floors and the decor is top notch and plush and luxurious, then you're in a place where you're not going to win a lot of money. And I think there's a similar corollary here that if you are trying to force something in, you're just holding on to something that wasn't a good analogy, but anyway, they're just holding on to a legacy model.
We'll have to circle back in 6 months to a follow up and see what has changed in 6 months.
Yeah.
Stuff is happening so fast and every day, and big companies are being really, really disrupted. And one strategy I have seen is the acquisition path, like OpenAI keeps buying companies.
Yeah.
A lot of the AI tools, even there's so much going on, some of it even goes under the radar.
Yeah, but I got to say, though, OpenAI is an AI native company.
Yes.
Like, so I'm like anything.
I think there's no question that they are, right?
Yeah. So I'm very happy for them to make you're right, but like I think all of them pretty much fly under the radar. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that, but I don't know. I mean, if your entire customer base is based on charging several $1 million a year or more in license fees. I mean, look, every time I go into the city, it's, I look at Salesforce Tower and I just like think all my clients are paying a lot of money to have Salesforce Tower.
Mm-hmm. So we've got path A and path B. Is there a third path that you think is going to be viable while we've got the Salesforce model and the SAP model in motion right now?
I think as long as I'll answer it slightly differently, or slightly in my mind, I think it's as long as, because AI is not a magic button either. Like, there's going to be problems. I just saw a thing on the way like an hour ago.
AKA security breaches.
Claude getting hacked every time I turn around. But also like some company, like Claude deleted its entire database.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that. It I forget. The CEO came out with a public statement, and it happened in something like under 30 seconds. It was just completely gone and deleted. And it took like days to get everything reset and rebuilt, or I don't even know how they found it.
Right. And I haven't seen the details because I just saw it an hour ago. But apparently Claude bypassed all the controls. Yeah. The security.
It went rogue.
I was like, well, wait.
AI gone rogue.
It's like, can we? Yeah. So here's just a PSA for getting backup, making sure your backups are working properly for all systems, no matter how small you are. But that was certainly so there's growing pains on the AI front as well, and like I'm not about to install Claude code on my computer. I do not trust it enough yet, and so So I think there's no reason not to. I'm not answering your question, but we cannot avoid learning AI. Especially those of us over 40, we have to learn AI, and so that's the work to be done. As we get better and adopt more of this, then I think we can start to challenge some of these legacy tech decisions.
Random side note that kind of fits into our discussion is Microsoft Copilot.
Which I think is fake AI, but keep going.
So I was listening to a webinar last week. It was a recording that had been done a couple of weeks ago, and they were polling the audience. And I don't know how many people were actually in the audience, but they had the numbers coming up. And the question was around Microsoft Copilot. How many people deployed it and were happy with it, thought it was functioning okay? And people were pretty pissed off.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
In this group and in this poll. And I was kind of surprised when I looked at the data. And from what I can tell, again, I'm not a user of the Microsoft Copilot, but that it's really underperforming. Like total no expectations are not being met. People are really frustrated and they're going to other tools to overcompensate because it's not working.
Oh, it's a disaster. I mean, I could go on a whole rant here, but every client, and I make a lot of jokes about Copilot. First of all, I hate it. I think it's terrible. But most of my clients use it. And I'm just like, and I make fun of it and nobody defends it, like mercilessly. It's corporatized AI. It makes the CIO happy because it's in the Microsoft stack, but it's a horrible tool compared to Claude and even just regular OpenAI. But even worse is that Microsoft went all in on this, and they took like one of the buttons off the like the control button on the right and made it Copilot, and then they jammed it in and into all the apps, and it's such a epic fail.
I've heard that organizations are so pissed off they're going mid-contract and trying to renegotiate and pull back the AI licenses because it's not doing like anything that it promised or what the end user thought it was going to do. So it's like people are heated about this.
Yes, I have a client, mega enterprise, and years ago, like 10 years ago, they put in SAP Ariba. And they made
I bet you were so excited about that.
Well, I wasn't working with them at the time, so I didn't know they were doing this, but I helped them fix the problem I'm about to describe. So they made one big error, other than choosing SAP. They promised everybody that this was the Amazon of corporate procurement, like the Amazon experience brought to the enterprise. Now, like we can make a lot of critiques of SAP, but 10 years ago, SAP was nothing like Amazon. And so they set the expectations through the roof and they delivered pretty much in the mud. And actually when I came in to help them fix that disparity because it was just atrocious. And so I say all of that is Copilot feels like the same thing, is like, we're going to give you all, like, this is AI. And I think the Copilot even branding was meant to allude to what Claude is delivering with the Copilot or with the Cowork and Claude Code and some of these other things. I think people went in their minds.
That's what they thought.
Yeah, exactly. And what they got is something that will like read your emails. And so it's just trash. Anyway, and then the other thing that Microsoft has kind of fumbled is they had this huge partnership with OpenAI.
Yeah, what is that?
Well, 2 years ago, that sounded like, oh my God, Microsoft won the AI battle for the enterprise. And then now you look 2 years forward and like Claude is running circles around OpenAI and Gemini is like off in its own, like it's like a rocket ship to the moon. So, and so now it looks archaic. And then now all of a sudden Microsoft's fighting with OpenAI and going to switch. And I don't know, it's a mess. So I think they started with such promise and it just failed spectacularly.
It's going to be tough for them to catch up.
Yeah, I think they're done. I mean, I think they're really done. I mean, other than the office productivity tools, that's it. Like stick a fork in them.
Another 6 month circle back.
Yeah, exactly. Like bookmark this.
To see if Microsoft has pulled a rabbit out of a hat or where things are with their AI implementations. So a couple other things that are AI, this is kind of random AI stuff that we're chatting about, is the AI bubble question.
Yeah.
So there were a couple stats that I pulled. Art of Procurement, which is Phil Idison, who's actually hosting an event, I think this week in San Francisco. They've done a couple one-day events, and I saw that he was in San Francisco. So I think his event is taking place actually on the 5th. And he said from their data and the clients that they're working with, 94% of procurement execs use Gen AI weekly, but only 4% have large-scale deployment. And the gap is where money is being burned. Wanted to get your take on that.
Disagree with that positioning. I believe the data and big fan of Phil's, so I'll just state that up front. But I mean, the limitation is not procurement. It's the fact that IT has not. And if you deal with IT and InfoSec people at the enterprise level, they don't understand this technology. So they're trying to, that's why we get Copilot, is because that's the only thing they can wrap their heads around, because Microsoft has sort of said this is safe. And so they just do it. But I don't think this is a negative. The fact that 94% are using it, I think that's great. That's what we should be doing. And it's also too early for large scale deployments. I mean, we just talked about how Claude's deleting things that it shouldn't. And I think that, again, this is why I paused a little bit ago, is like, we need to let this technology mature. And there might be a bubble, by the way, that like we might collapse, just like the .com run up in the late 90s. I think you were probably still a kid at that time. But I lived through that, and there was huge expectations, and then it all crashed. And out of that crash came Google, Facebook.
Yeah, some of the most epic companies in the world.
Exactly. And so if we do another run up, bubble collapses, I think that's okay, because we have to go through this pain to actually get to the next level. And I'm not sure it'll, like crash like everybody's predicting. I think it will sort of like undulate like a wave, but yeah.
Okay. And then another thing that's been coming up in the news a lot is CEO churn.
Yeah.
So leaders of large companies, right? Large enough that it's national or global news, and long-time, very tenured CEOs are being replaced.
Yeah.
And one of the themes that the media talks about is a lot of this AI driven, in that these CEOs have not put solid plans in place, nor have executed the plans, which is causing competitors to keep up or exceed. And they're kind of taking top-down approach, starts with the CEO. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, this gets to, much like we talked about the tech companies earlier, whether you're retail, whether you're manufacturing, whether you're pharma, med device, financial companies, the world's changed. And this is a brave new world. And we have to be able to figure out what the business models look like, because, I mean, this is part of what my new book is about, is really figuring out what this next level enterprise looks like, because it looks nothing like it is today. So if you're a CEO today, let's say you're 50 to 65, you've grown up. When you went to grad school, or when
you didn't grow up with a cell phone.
Right. Exactly.
And the internet, you weren't an internet baby.
Right. And when you went to MBA school, you studied P&G and Chrysler and Ford and GM.
Warren Buffett was the icon.
Well, right. Like all of some of those companies don't even exist anymore, much less. And by the way, if you went and got your MBA from 2000 to 2010, you were probably studying Amazon, Facebook, Google. like even those companies are not even like they're out of date. So the CEOs at 50 to 65, they're not prepared. I'm not saying they don't have value, but this gets to my core argument that those of us over 40, we have a different lived experience than those of us under 40. And those of us over 40 shouldn't be making decisions about AI platforms, how to run an AI business, et cetera, et cetera. And I know not all people, I get it. But by and large, I grew up at a time before computers existed, like a personal computer. So I was in 5th grade when we got our first computers at school. So why should I think that I know enough about AI to make a technology decision, a massive technology decision, versus somebody that has grown up with AI? And so in my lifetime, I've had to learn computers, had to learn the internet, cell phones, smartphones, coding.
Right? You did.
Yeah. You want to
website work.
Website work. Did that. I mean, like, and so like, and that does not mean those of us over 40 don't have value. It means we have different experiences. My experience is in relationships. My experience is in creativity and being able to just like unplug. So it just makes us different. And I'll just sort of like, this is a hot button for me, but the CEOs, well, first of all, at this point in 2026, 84% of digital transformations have failed. And I put that number at 100%, but I think it's Deloitte quantified that at 84%. Okay.
Which is really scary.
Right. So we've spent billions, like hundreds of billions of dollars.
Consultants love this.
Yeah, I know, exactly. They're the only ones that have won. So you have like billions spent, hundreds of billions on digital transformations. Well, it's these same CEOs that actually bought those digital transformations. What were we actually doing in all those digital transformations? Nobody really knows, because they all failed and they just became ERP upgrades or whatever. And so I think if you're a board, you're looking at CEOs and you have to really be challenging. Is this 50-year-old, 55-year-old, 60-year-old the one to drive? Yeah. And if you're that CEO, you're probably looking around too. And if you're honest, you're saying, I'm not the right person to guide this company into the future.
I wonder if we're going to see a big change in age and demographic of CEOs based on this, right? If it's this much younger generation, are these going to be the future leaders, which has not always been the case? So that'll be really interesting to see, because there's a whole dynamic that flows from that with the workforces that would and will work for somebody. For me, we may have a lot of 20-year-old CEOs.
Yeah. And, well, I don't think we'll see 20-year-old, but certainly 30-year-old. Like I expect that demographic to grow. And where I expect to see this is not at a mega enterprise necessarily, but
the disruptor brands.
Yes, and those are typically owned by private equity. So if you want to get in, if you're let's say a high performing 25-year-old, you want to be CEO, you might go to a smaller company that's owned by private equity, because you know what they're going to want? They're going to want you to come in and deploy AI as a strategy, not technically, and run that business. Because what does private equity care about? Efficient
cutting costs.
Cutting costs. Really, let's just cut to the chase there. So you can do that with AI much more effectively, and so I think those CEOs will get their opportunity that way.
So as we kind of close out this conversation, how do we tie this back to procurement? And what does this mean for all of the folks that are procurement practitioners or working on transformations? Because there's some big implications here.
There's huge. So first, foremost, don't make any massive technology investments. Don't write checks that younger generations have to cash. Do not add to your technical debt. Just stop. You don't have to do anything. There's no driving force. You can just take a deep breath. So first off, don't spend money. And back to Phil's stat, 94% of leaders are using this. That's great. A, I want to see 100%. And B, I want to see it cascade out amongst the teams so that when we query 1,000 practitioners, they're all using it, and we're improving personal productivity and team productivity. Like those are no regret moves. We can do that today. So like 94% are doing that today. Love it. And then stay on top of what's happening, because the business models are changing, the technology's changing, the
pricing's being blown up, which we'll talk about in our next episode.
Yeah, exactly. And yes, and then and also the other thing for procurement people, just to tie all of this like philosophical discussion, as you negotiate with Salesforce, Microsoft, Oracle, SAP, et cetera, those negotiations have to take a different tenor than they have in the past, because we're, first of all, contracting for AI solutions is a lot different than SaaS or these legacy systems. And this consumption, I meant to mention this consumption-based tokens, like it's not going to be cheaper. It's going to cost more. And I think we're all in for a rude awakening.
And I think it's going to cost headcount.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no doubt.
All right. Is that a wrap?
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap of our pod. We will be back next Wednesday.